evening. Thank you for coming out. This is the Pleasantville City Council work meeting. Today is Monday, November 18th, 2019. The time is 6:30 p.m. This meeting has been advertised in the local newspapers in conformance with the Open Public Meeting Act, otherwise known as the Sunshine Law. Roll call, please.
Swan. Here. Sistrum.
Here.
Scott. Harmon. Christmas.
Here.
Davenport.
Present.
Ward.
Here.
Okay.
I'd like to have approval of the previous minutes.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Nays and abstentions on the same resolution? Okay, ayes have it. Agenda items, please.
First on the agenda is ordinance number 15, second reading. Public hearing will be held during the regular session. Is adopting amendments to a redevelopment plan from the Lake Spade redevelopment area. And we will receive a presentation from Rick Janetti, project redevelopment coordinator.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good evening, everyone. I will keep the presentation short. This is the third amendment to the Lake Bay pre-development plan. The biggest difference between this and the last amendment that we did in 2011, the amendment in 2011 significantly reduced the density and made it single-family market rate sale homeownership units. The city tried to procure developers and there was no interest in that project. Subsequent to that, we have done market research and the market has changed in the area, and the other thing that happened with the Tax Reform Act a couple years ago is that area was designated an opportunity zone, which allows for a lot of different development opportunities. The third amendment to the redevelopment plan allows for market rate apartments, up to 180 apartments, primarily 1 and 2 bedroom, garages, parking lots, more parking than 2 parking spots per unit. It also carves out a space for retail, commercial, eateries, drinking establishments, water-related establishments in the corner, probably up to about 12 to 15,000 square feet in 4 to 6 buildings. The planning board of the city did confirm at their meeting on the 12th that it's consistent with the master plan. The other thing in this area is the plan allows for a community room, which can include a gym, swimming pools, other facilities, offices, management space, meeting space for the community. There also is plans for some open space. Everything at this plan is primarily dealing with the high school site, but it focuses on the Jokers Field and the redevelopment of Jokers Field and the marina with walkways. Everything's going to be interconnected. I think a key component to this amendment to the redevelopment plan is the city's ability to vacate Ainsley Avenue so that there's no longer through traffic down Ainsley Avenue. That's become a promenade to the Tunis Basin, to the waterfront itself. And that's where like the eateries and drinking establishments would be. So they would have outdoor access to the water. And to do that, we created in the redevelopment plan a requirement for a access way so that we would still get down to Hampton Avenue, both from Bayview, but then a new access way through the high school site, because we do have Jokers Field. There's also Randall Seafood down there. So we actually increase the drivability of that neighborhood. Because in addition to that, we're going to connect Franklin, which now dead ends, is going to be connected through to Bayview. So now we can get total circulation that is required down there. And we're going to require our redeveloper to improve all city infrastructure in the surrounding area, stormwater, sanitary sewer, to bring it up to grade in that area so that we don't have issues in the future for that specific site. This is just a basic layout of what's in the plan, with several apartment buildings and community room and pool. And this, as you can see, is the sort of retail space that'll walk right out onto the waterfront. Other than that, unless you have any questions, that's my presentation.
The question I have, Ricky, you said the promenade is gonna be, is it gonna be from, Main Street down to, down?
No, it's really going to be just that part. If you go down there, you can visualize it. When you're going down Ainsley Avenue, it sort of curves around the Tunis Basin. That carved out part is where it's going to attach to the water there. It's just going to be that little area. It's going to be connected to the water.
So it's over more near Randall's?
Exactly.
Okay.
It's down from Randall's, and that's why if you look at the plan. So right now,
You
this
have a
is
copy of that?
this is Ames.
Copy of that? Copy of this?
Do I have a copy? We can, I mean, everyone get a copy, you know. But this is Ainsley Avenue right here now. So that's going to be vacated. Access is to Randall's and down to Hampton Avenue is going to be right down. This is going to be like a boulevard. Sort of like how we have Wellington Avenue and things like that. And that's how you get down there. But this way, the eateries can actually have tables and all that are out by the water. Sort of the concept. And then this green space here, we visualize this being like a playing field. Have you ever been at Veterans Stadium where they have the small baseball field that the kids can play out while you're watching the game? This is planned to be lit, artificial turf. So, you know, parents can be sitting in here having a bite to eat. Kids can be playing in here in the facility. So it's, you know, this is for the entire area. You got the apartments in here, but this is going to be an attraction to bring people from all over town and all over the area to come in. And then it gets connected to Joker's Field and all the improvements we're going to make at Joker's Field and the marina.
Rick, is that Franklin Boulevard's running all the way through to?
Yeah, Franklin Boulevard. So now when you get down here, the city owns this lot. Franklin Boulevard dead ends right here.
Right.
So we're going to require that this connects all the way down to Bayview.
Oh, okay.
And all the other amenities, I just want to finish this list. All the other amenities that you mentioned, the gym, the other amenities.
Right, so the-
Is that, I just want to know, is there potential for that, or is that what they really plan to do?
The community room with the gym and the pool is what they plan to do for the management of the property. You know, it's a market rate development, and you need amenities down there, and that's the idea. Now, that would be for the community, you know, that would be for the rental community itself, where this is for the entire community.
That's the plan for that site, the Joker's site, is that, what phase is it for the practice facility?
That's all, when the high school site gets built, that's, because the little facility's right here. So this all gets built at one time. You probably see the apartments first and this after the apartments get built, because the 155 apartments drives to get the restaurant owners to open up, because they have some built-in clientele right there. So you probably see the apartments and then the retail commercial space come right after that. The Joker's Field rehabilitation in the marina, I mean, we're hoping that starts early next year. We actually hope this goes in the ground. You know, this is the redevelopment plan for the city. The developer is planning on submitting their site plan to the planning board if this is approved tonight in January. To submit it, which means it could be heard at the planning board as early as February. And if it doesn't make the February meeting, the first meeting in March, they are that far along with their plans.
Councilman Davenport?
Yeah, I was just wondering, the street that runs off, is that Wright Street that runs down to the yacht basin right there, or is that?
This
Yes,
this is
all right.
Bayview.
Bayview, okay.
Yeah.
So the street that runs off of Bayview right there to Randall's, that's going to stay as access to Randall's?
Yeah, Hampton, this is Hampton.
Okay, got
And
it.
this stays.
Okay.
Right. And in fact, I mean, there's improvements here for additional parking and some plans with the park area to make this some more turnaround space to actually make the access to Randall's better than it is today.
Were you going to improve Randall's also to make that so that it's going to be like a eatery, or just going to leave it the way it is?
So since that's owned by the folks that own Randall's, that'll be up to them, but I think it'll be encouraged because there's a very good opportunity. I mean, I have ideas there that I'd like to see them do.
Yes.
And I know, there's been communication about that, so, you know, there's a great, I mean, right on the water, it's a great
Yes.
opportunity.
Makes sense.
Yes.
Councilman Christie.
Franklin Boulevard there, and it ends at the lot currently.
Correct.
What is the property to be developed along Franklin Boulevard? What's that gonna be? I'm trying to make it, are those trees in there, or, you know, all
Yeah,
that down there
This is required buffer areas.
of trees?
Of trees and landscaping buffer areas. You do have the darker areas, like there's some stormwater management that, you know, the engineers have to get technical, but the redevelopment plan requires that the whole area is buffered.
Okay, then of all of that, where's the housing gonna be?
In these are the apartments.
Okay, got it, okay.
150 units.
Apartments, not single,
Apartments, right, market rate apartments.
2-story, 1-story?
They're going to be more like townhomes. There's going to be 80 of the apartments are planned to have garages. Then the other one's going to have driveways, because there's going to be 2 and 1
So it's gonna
bedroom
be like
units. Going to
townhouses?
be more like townhouses, right?
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you, Ray.
Thank you.
Okay, next, resolution 169, authorizing the issuance and sale of up to $360,313 of special emergency notes of the city, making certain covenants to maintain the exemption of interest of the said notes from federal income taxation, and authorizing further such actions and making such determinations that may be necessary or appropriate to effectuate the issuance and sale of the notes.
Are there any questions or comments?
Yes, what is this going to be used for?
This is just a, 3 years ago, we borrowed enough money to fund our retirement program for our uncompensated balance plan, and we've been paying back over 5 years. This was money that have already been spent, but now we're just repaying it over 5 years rather than all at one time. We borrowed like close to $1 million for a number of people who have retired all at one time. And you'll see on your bill list tonight, we've starting to fund this on a regular basis rather than all at one time we borrow the money.
Next, please.
Resolution 170, rescinding resolution number 88-2016, authorizing an agreement for redemption of municipal tax title lien for block 8, lot 2.
Are there any questions or comments?
I have a question.
Okay.
After this is completed tonight, does that property now get foreclosed on, or how does that work?
It goes into the tax sale tax.
It goes on the tax sale, okay.
So if it's purchased, depending on who it's purchased by, if it's a private investor, it'll be 2 years before that investor can actually move to foreclose on the property.
Okay. But the person who takes it over has to pay the back bills, right?
If a private person takes it over, if no one does it, it becomes a municipal lien.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. I'm ready.
Okay, next is the bill list.
The bill list, you should have a revised bill list and bills to be paid from last council meeting to this council meeting, so I'll go over a couple of them. The very first one on top for $108,000. It is, we have a shared services with Egg Harbor Township for a dispatch. This is the fourth quarter payment for that. Going down to the very bottom where you'll see wire transfers. One of the things we just mentioned, Councilman Davenport, was regarding the funding of our uncompensated balances. In the budget this year, we threw $50,000 into that, and I transfer money into that account. And that'll be set aside as we fund, hopefully years from now, when we do have retirement, firefighters or policemen or anyone retired, we'll pull money out of there rather than the operating account. Then the next one, 585, that's our payroll for last week. And then the county taxes of $1,004,000 that was just paid for the fourth quarter. And then we have bills to be paid. On page 1, 3/4 of the way down, it says ACUA. There are 4 payments there, or 3 payments. So $471,000, that's our fourth quarter for our water and sewer. The next two, 108 and 111, are the September and October trash and recycling payments. We go to page 3, at the very top. $1,187 being paid to new fire and safety services. We passed a resolution last week to buy a fire truck. We are prepaying this with a couple conditions. One, because we're prepaying it, we're saving the township $55,000, the city $55,000. Additionally, we have a performance bond in the amount of $1.26 million. So if they fail to produce it, we will get 1.26 back rather than just a 1.8. We have negotiated with them that we expect to be done either the end of 2020 or beginning 2021. If by April 1st, 2021, we will get all our money back, plus interest, plus penalties of 500 hours a day beyond January 1st. A few down, GMH Associates for $19,000. That's one of the payments for the generator being put down at the Cedar Crest pump station. 5 down below that, IAF Health and Safety. The fire department received a grant for training in the amount of $129,000 to pay for overtime as well as actual training being done by people from outside. So we're making the $85,000 payment is coming out of this $114,000 grant we've received, and we've got the cash in bank. And then $30,000 was applied against the overtime for the firemen who went to the training. Last one on the bottom, $17,000 for rock salt, 300 ton of rock salt. We are billing the school for 100 ton, as is our normal. We take care of the schools and everything else, so we are billing them for that. We will probably, depending on how the storms are and the weather is, we may have to buy another 100 ton.
Barry, do the chair. You might know, if it happens that we would have a warm winter, all right, and we have purchased all of this rock salt, can rock salt stay for another year, or do you?
Mr. Harmon, last time we bought rock salt was 3 years ago.
And
It does stay. It is enclosed in those little domes that they have, the pyramid or whatever it's called, teepees. Yeah, we store it all in there.
Yeah, we had to build it down there.
Exactly right.
Okay, thank you. I was wondering.
Look on page 4, about a little bit below the middle, municipal equipment enterprises. We purchased 2 vehicles for the police department. After one of them got totaled, we took the insurance money to buy 2 Ford Explorers, and that money, $17,000, is to put them into shape to be a police officer, police car. Some of the equipment we stole from one car, we put into another, but another car had to be completely outfitted. So that's the cost for that. You go to page 5. Right top of page 5 is our monthly payment to the school. And as we collect our taxes for the school, we make the payment to them. A little further down, vendor 48552G and S&P Global Ratings. We had a rating call because we had a bond that's actually being sold Wednesday. I'm sorry, it was sold prior to that. We're having closing Wednesday. We got a bond rate of 2.1 interest rate over the next 11 years. And the cost for that to do the bonding rate and to rate us, which we became an A rating, was $13,000. I think Ms. Payton and I and our bond counsel, a lot of people were involved with the hearing and the phone call. Other than that, that's all my unusual and things regarding bills for city purposes this time.
Okay. Thank you, Barry.
Any questions?
Any questions for Barry? Anyone? Yeah. No. Okay, thank you.
Kind of sample over the.
Okay, at this time, we'll have the public portion. Anyone that wishes to speak on any item on the agenda, please come forward, state your name and your concern.
Steve, so moved that you put the motion. Second.
Okay, public portion is now closed. And we'll have open discussion from council if there's anything anyone would like to share. Okay, I'd like to have a motion to close the work session.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor? Right after, I mean, you still want, okay. Everybody have that? Okay. Good evening, thank you for coming out. Today is Monday, November 18th, 2019. The time is 6:52 p.m. This is the Pleasantville City Council meeting. This meeting has been advertised in the local newspapers in conformance with the Open Public Meeting Act, otherwise known as the Sunshine Law. Roll call, please. Oh, excuse me, will you please stand for the invocation, remain standing for the flag salute. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Before you sit down, please, we just like to have a moment of silence and prayerful thought for our weekend and for our little student that's fighting for his life. Thank you. Okay, now roll call, please.
Swan.
Here.
Sistrum. Scott. Harmon.
Present.
Christmas.
Here.
Davenport. Ward.
Here.
6 in attendance.
Okay, I'd like to have a motion to dispense with the readings of the previous minutes.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Nays and abstentions have the same privilege. Okay, ayes have it. Mayor, do you have anything this evening?
No, Madam President.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, first on the agenda is ordinance number 15, second reading, public hearing required, is adopting amendments to a redevelopment plan for the Lakes Bay redevelopment area.
Okay, because this is the second reading, anyone that wishes to speak on this ordinance, please come forward, state your name and your concern. Okay, seeing none, I'd like to have a motion.
Motion.
Second.
Okay. Questions not closed for that?
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Swan.
Yes.
Sistrum.
Yes.
Harmon.
That's me.
Christmas.
Yes.
Davenport.
Yes.
Ward.
Yes.
Ordinance adopted. Resolution 169, authorizing the issuance and sale of up to $360,313 of special emergency notes of the city, making certain covenants to maintain the exemption of the interest on said notes from federal income taxation, and authorizing such further actions and making such determinations that may be necessary or appropriate to effectuate the issuance and sale of the notes. Swan,
Yes.
Sistrum,
Yes.
Harmon,
Yes.
Christmas,
Yes.
Davenport,
Yes.
Ward.
Yes.
Resolution approved. Resolution 170, rescinding resolution number 88-2016, authorizing an agreement for redemption of municipal tax title lien for Block 8, Lot 2.
Motion.
Second.
Swan,
Yes.
Sistrum,
Yes.
Harmon,
Yes.
Christmas,
Yes.
Davenport,
Yes.
Ward.
Yes.
Resolution approved. I need a motion to pay for bills.
Motion. Second.
Swan,
Yes.
Sistrum,
Yes.
Harmon,
Yes.
Christmas,
Yes.
Davenport,
Yes.
Ward.
Yes.
Motion approved. Next is public portion.
Okay, anyone from the public that wishes to speak on any item, anything, please come forward, state your name and your concern.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
For those of you that don't know me, I'm Renee Toriano. I didn't rinse the glasses. So I'm here tonight because of 1303 North Main Street. That is a 4-bedroom house that has approximately 12 people living in it. And the property butts up against Utah Avenue, which is not a normal sized street. It's a very small street. And there's cars parked up and down the street all day, every day, anywhere from 6 to 12 cars at any given time. So you're not able to drive, 2 cars cannot drive down the street anymore. You always have to pull over so that someone can go by. I did contact Chief Riggin about it. I know that it's not a priority, no offense to you, to take care of this, but it is wreaking havoc on the residents at Fox Run. There was a car parked out there being stored for 3 months that I finally had someone come down. The police came down the other day and they did remove the car. They are prohibiting and restricting access to 2 driveways that are on Utah Avenue. In fact, the gentleman that lives at 11 Utah had to dig up his property so that he could create a new entrance and exit into his driveway because these cars are parked up and down the street all day, every day. There's limited access for any kind of emergency vehicles, whether it's snow plows or fire trucks, police cars. You cannot get up and down the street any longer. There's also so much trash up and down the street because of these residents that I personally clean every single day. I walk up and down that street and personally clean that street because of these people. They were parking on the lawn. I did have that taken care of. The street has not been cleaned since May. What else did I want to mention? It has been cleaned since May. Code enforcement said that they are dealing with the excessive tenants in there, but nothing's being done. And so we have 3 departments within Pleasantville that are all dealing with this one house, but I don't think anyone's talking to each other. So they're also, where they're parking is it's less than 50 feet from a stop sign, and they've never been given any tickets because they continue to park there. So I just wanted to express my concern about this because it's causing a problem for where I live.
Is anyone familiar with this?
No, this is the first that I'm hearing of it, unfortunately, Renee, but I will certainly talk with the respective departments to see what's going on. I just want to make sure that I have the correct address, 1303 North Main is what you said?
1303, and it was just recently sold in May, and it's a rental property. And I of course have no idea if they have a CO or not, but the bottom line is it's a 4-bedroom house and there's 12 people living there.
We can certainly follow up on it.
Okay, thank you.
Well, excuse me, before it was sold, were there issues there?
No, it was vacant for years.
And there were no issues until it filled up?
Right. So they have a driveway for 2 cars, and there's always cars in the driveway, but then the other 8 cars are parked up and down the street. And just Friday night when I came in, I almost hit somebody because they were coming up and I'm turning, and it's dangerous. It's not, it's dangerous. Something needs to be done.
We'll follow up.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
Good evening, I'm Marge Wilson, I'm the property manager at Fox Room, and they called me today about the situation, and I too had the same problems. I have reported to Melissa a few weeks ago, we had issues actually back in the summer when there was trash and debris and things like that, and they did address it because they weren't cutting the grass either. But myself coming in on Saturday to turn down Utah to go into Fox Run, there was another car coming the other way, and a car parked almost to the corner on the right side, so it was very difficult to turn in, and then the other car had to pull over so I could pass, and it happens every day like that these cars are out there. And it's just, there's a couple of vans that look like they perhaps are even storing things in, the big white vans, and you can see all the stuff in the back. So we appreciate all you can do. Thank you.
Excuse me, is this after, let's see if you're going down Main Street, is this after Fox Run, the street right after?
Towards that Beacon, it's right,
Towards that-
right on the other side of, when Utah turns into Fox Run, the house, the small gray house on the right. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public? Okay, I'd like to have a motion to close the public portion.
Hi, Willie Francois, pastor of Mount Zion Baptist Church here in our city, and I really want to at least have some conversation about what happened on Friday, and those of us who do have leadership capacities in this city, whether it's communal or whether it is political, what we can do in terms of preventing future events like what we experienced on Friday. I have several of our members on Sunday who talked to me on Sunday who are deeply traumatized by what happened, and many of them believe that it is preventable, could have been prevented just by minor improvements in security in public spaces like our field at the high school. And so I'm just interested in how do we make sure that we don't normalize these types of activities, because one of the most tragic things I heard in the past 2 days is, oh, this is just another day in Pleasantville. That should not be the case. I've heard people make the case, well, this is different from the other mass shootings that happen around the nation. And while that may be true, the way we say that makes it seem like this deserves less attention than what normally happens in places like a shooting in a football field, that although no students were involved, perhaps no former students were involved, it wasn't a particular threat on the school or the parents there, but to make sure that we are not normalizing this activity and we're not becoming a part of the complicit structures that allow guns to have too much authority in our lives. I often think that America has an addiction to guns. It is one of our idols, and we make the Second Amendment its holy scripture. And we need to make sure that as faith leaders, as political leaders, that we're doing everything we can to protect lives, and to make sure that we have a narrative that says that this is important and that we're not going to allow anybody to think that this is normal in Pleasantville, that this is normal for any type of community. So what kind of precautions, what kind of measures can we think about, have you been thinking about, to make sure that public spaces are as safe as they can be? Number one, what kind of conversations can we have with our state leaders in terms of how we get more development here? Gun violence, particularly in communities like ours, are typically related to a lack of opportunity, a type of hopelessness, that people have these affinity groups that are often underground and violent affinity groups that are only based on the fact that they have no other opportunities. So how do we think about investing in economic opportunities? How do we think about investing in our schools in ways that provide these types of opportunities, that address poverty head on? And how do we think about guns in our area?
Well, on Saturday, afternoon, after the mayor had a press conference, the mayor and the chief and everyone had a press conference afterwards. The administrators, the teachers and everyone was in there trying to discuss just what you're talking about now. I'm sure there's no definitive solution right now, but I mean, that is just what you're saying that's already in the works, you know? It's not as if, you know, we just forgot about it or they just forgot about it, but that was the first step, you know, because it's so new to everyone, you know? So, of course, there's things that now you know to do, hindsight, that to prevent it from happening again.
Mr. Hunt. Madam President and to the Speaker of the Minister, I'm chairman of the Community Relations Committee and have been, believe it or not, this is my 49th year preaching, well, as an elected official, in and out. There is nothing under the sun on this earth that we haven't attempted to do. We don't have the detectives at high school football games, all right? We don't have them. Basketball games, we have a detective out there. I'm here to say tonight that I commend, he's back, my police chief, my deputy chief, my police chief was right there. And it has been said, but not blown up enough. Pleasantville have nothing, zero, to do with this. Outsiders came to our game and caused this emotion. As far as these legislators are concerned, what more could we do to have the, not just regular police, but the chief, right on the scene, at the scene, and thanks to AFSEEK assistance, because when we hear Camden, it's one of those things. And, in Camden, there was a football team. Pleasantville, as it was stated, we have done a magnificent job as far as controlling crime. And I again applaud the taxpayers and the voters of this community who are passing shot spotters. That's the only way we got it. And as the mayor spoke at the last meeting, we are one of the few in the country that have that. But yet, again, my chief was present when these outsiders, I'm not even gonna call the name of the places, these outsiders came and chose to pull out a weapon and fire. My last comment, this city and no one here, but one young man was named Pleasantville, but it was outside. And I stand to say that I am sick and tired of reading the front page of something like this, and we have outstanding athletes. I have a collection, winning championships. Young lady, not in the United States, but in the world, champion. And you read that on the back page in the lower right-hand corner. So if we again tonight make a mockery of that, and the media has been here all day, and I guess they're still here, but I better speak for myself. I cannot do any more than what we have done and what is being done. And thanks and kudos to my police department and my deputy chief, Mr. Williams, and my fire department, because they were on the scene when these nuts came to our town to front page Pleasantville again. And I'm just tired of it. Thank you, Madam President.
Good.
I just want to piggyback on what Councilman Harmon said. First of all, we're the only municipality in the country that put this shot spotter before a referendum, because we had that much confidence and that much of a good relationship with the community, and they passed it. We're the only municipality in the country that have done that. We have done so many good things as far as crime. We have not had any homicide this year. We have a community policing unit that's down on Main Street. We just deployed and activated body cams. Now, for anyone to say that this is normal, I don't know who these people are that would make a statement like that, this is normal. This is not normal for the city of Pleasantville. And we have everything in the making that you had discussed about different programs. We have Coffee with the Cops, Pizza with the Cops. We have so many different programs that we work with the community. And I can say that we applaud our relationship with the community for the things we have done. That's why we're able to do the things we have been doing, is because we have the community support. So a lot of things that you said that we need to do, we've been doing that throughout the years. It's just that people don't know what we do, but we constantly try to get people to be involved, and which is very difficult. And we visit the parents today, the parent of the kid that's in Cooper Medical Hospital, and his condition has not changed. He's still in a coma. The mother and the cousin were very appreciative, are very appreciative of what the community has done. There's been an outpour of calls throughout the nation to me, and I'm sure council members and so forth and all. I'm talking about the governor, Senator Cory Booker, judges, pastors praying on the phone, and everyone is saying the same thing. And we know Pleasantville had nothing to do with this, and we're going to continue to protect our city. The things that we do, this is not going to impede our effort. If anything, we should be proud the way the community has come together. This really defines who we are. Pleasantville is a family-oriented community. There's a lot of people that live in Atlantic City that have moved to Pleasantville and vice versa. It's been that type of migration. So there's a large family orientation in Atlantic City and Pleasantville. In fact, Atlantic City came over to Pleasantville to support the football team. I called Coach Sacco before the game because I knew I wasn't going to be able to make it. And I applaud him for the way he has coached this team, the pride this Pleasantville football team has given us. They have given us pride and hope, and this is radiated throughout the city and the state. I mean, these kids have done so much. I believe the chief was in one of the practices afterwards, and he asked the kids how many kids were going to college and seniors, and they all raised their hand. These are the kind of things that we need to talk about. But as far as having things in place to prevent this, you know, I talked to Nick Russo, who's a professor of criminology, and he said over and over again to me that you can't prevent this type of thing. If a person wants to shoot somebody or kill somebody, they're going to do it. This is a professor of criminology. These are the type of calls and support that we've been getting for the last couple of days. And you know, I yield to the police if you want to cover anything else, please, Chief.
Can I speak?
I'm sorry. I just want
I just want to talk about the preventive measure, because we did have a conversation Saturday, and I made a statement, and I know that the chief was trying to get his point across. And I just want you to understand, Chief, that it wasn't me trying to point my finger at the police, not at all. I know you did your job. I know the officer that was out there, and I know what you did to apprehend the suspects that, you know, committed the crime. But still in all, what did we do to prevent it? And I don't think that, not the police department, but the school system did what they had to do to prevent that from happening. Because, as I said Saturday, if me as a council person and as a 6-year board member can walk into a board meeting and have a wand put on me and my wife, who everyone knows, to make sure that we don't have a gun on us. At that football game, which was a big event, it should have been easy to take those wands that are at other facilities, to bring them in there, and I wouldn't care if it took 4 hours to wand every person that walked into that gate. It's one entrance. It's what we should have done. So it's not about putting the blame on anyone. It's about doing what needs to be done to make sure that this doesn't happen again. And we cannot turn a blind eye to say that everyone did what they were supposed to do to make this preventable. It wasn't done. I know for a fact that it wasn't done. And until we take that into account and accept it and deal with it, it's going to happen again. So that's something that we have to do as a community, to make sure we hold those accountable that did not do their job, because that's our kids' safety. I don't care how anybody's feelings are hurt or how they feel about it. It's what's right and what's safe for our children. And until we do that, then it's our fault. So that's how I feel. Thank you.
That's great, it never does happen again.
Yes.
I didn't want to cut you off.
Yes.
Saturday, we didn't want to cut you off, but the main focus Saturday was getting those kids back in
Yes,
school.
I know. I understood
And that's,
exactly.
yeah, and that's
Yes.
why we didn't continue the conversation,
Yes.
because the main concern was getting the kids back to normalcy.
Yes, I just didn't want the chief to think that I was, pointing my finger at the police. I know the job that you did, Chief Rivers, you know what I mean? I know that you were there, and for some reason, I just stayed away from the game that night. I didn't have time to make it. But, still in all, I think me and you know that there were things that could have been done. And, I know you made a comment that it would have taken a long time to, secure everything. But you know what? The heck with the public and how long it takes. If they're going to come into the game, this is what they have to go through. If we can go up to the Spectrum or up to Financial Field and they make sure that no weapons get in there, then that little football field right there behind Pleasantville could have been taken care of at that time.
So, Mayor,
Chief.
the first thing that I want to say is this. The thing that makes this different about the other shootings that you've seen nationwide is we didn't shoot him. He was taken into custody. He did not surrender. He was taken into custody within seconds by the police officers and the security that were there because we had adequate security there. As to whether or not we can change procedures to deal with the threat that we've seen, of course we can. But to take the position as a former board member that the school board isn't doing what they're supposed to do, I got to push back on that, Councilman, because I'll say this. The security procedures were best practices for every school in the area. No one is getting wanded going into schools. So if the school board, because I've been approached by a number of school board members who want to know why certain things weren't done and why purchases weren't made, that's a school board issue. The school board has been the school board, has had a budget 3 times the size of the city for the last 30 years. If the school board wanted to make purchases and make systematic changes, no one's stopping them. But I have to commend the security staff that was there because they were on point. They did what they were supposed to do. No one got hurt. We had not one injury. 1,000 people getting out of there as fast as they could, not one injury. The suspects were arrested. Not only the suspects, but the suspects and their accomplices. Let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that doesn't happen. Period. It does not happen. We are never able. Go back and find in the last however many shootings you choose to take a look at, and find me a case, even one nationwide, where the shooter is taken down without being shot, and where all of his accomplices are rounded up within 2 hours, and then tell me about security at that school, because we could not have done better. We can do better in the future, because now we know that there's a different kind of threat, that people from outside of our town are bringing guns and they're shooting at our kids. But to assume that we should have had some sort of, telepathic way to think that this was going to happen on this particular day, and then take extraordinary security measures when we already get a hard time for wanding people at the places where we do wand them. The community did not ask for that, and we didn't do it because there was no reason to think that this was going to happen. But there is reason to think that when it did happen, we handled it. We handled it professionally. We handled it with our partners in the school system, in the prosecutor's office, and with our law enforcement partners. And we did a better job than is done nationwide. So I will say, while I believe that we can do better, law enforcement and school security should be taking a victory lap for the way that this was handled, because this doesn't happen nationwide. This was handled as best as it possibly could be. Now, I've spent more time with Mike Tennant than anybody in this room. So I don't need to be told about how terrible it is that this little boy has been shot. I've held his hand. The police department is making sure that the parents have clothes that are going up tomorrow morning, that the parents are fed through a local donor here that gave money to me to give to them to make that they're sure that they're taken care of. The police department and the school system has been doing what they're supposed to do. If we want to make changes, let's make them. Let's make them together, and let's make them without pointing fingers at each other. Everybody did exactly what they were supposed to do, and that's why you had the outcome that you did, and it's why the outcome is different than everywhere else in the country when this happens.
All I'm saying, Chief, is that I think that it could have been prevented, and there are other facilities. I go to basketball games, football games.
Basketball games, sir.
They have the metal detectors and everything.
At the basketball
and we
games.
have a small little fence that you come in there. So we don't want to go back and forth, and because I'm not going to agree with what you're saying. I have my opinion, you have yours, and that's just the way it is. But I think that if we had done a little bit more due diligence and knowing what we were dealing with, it could have been prevented.
Understood, sir.
That's it. Thank you.
Mayor, discussion? I'm finished.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Probably the lone council person that I was at the game.
Yes, sir, you were, and I appreciate your help.
And not far from the shooter. You can only find that out afterwards, because when the shots are taking place, you don't know where the shots are coming from. And to get to safe haven along the way, grab a couple of kids along the way, you know, when you're running from the area where they're shooting, and just to get to the point where the shooter's not shooting anymore. You assume that there are no more rounds that's going to be fired. Seeing the two individuals as I was running by that you had on the ground, doubling back to grab, which turned out to be Tony Davenport's grandson, to keep him from going back to grab his father. And only, excuse me for a minute, and only to kind of like survey everything that was going on. I'm very, very proud of our community during a chaotic moment. There's a range of emotions that goes along with that and everything. Thank God you're not hurt. Thank God there wasn't that many people hurt and everything. Feeling a sense of sorrow for the two that got shot and for the young boy that was shot, and also mad as hell that it took place.
Yep.
But by the same time, as chaotic as it was and everything, we all band together as a community. There were so many people grabbing kids. There was people grabbing that young boy that was down, Julio and Julio Sanchez, and also Neil Locke, and so many others that were doing their due diligence during a chaotic time and really not actually thinking about themselves.
Nope.
Not really thinking about yourself at that time. And I applaud our police department, chief, even after the fact, just learning so much standing with yourself and Jesse, and also Williams over here, the way we diffused the situation as soon as we possibly could. And I applaud this.
I appreciate your help that night, sir. It made a difference.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor.
Chief, you don't take any of this personal. Everyone's voicing their opinions, but you know it's nothing against the department. The department did a great job that night, along with EMT, along with a lot of just residents. Everyone did what they could. That was just like, I'm so happy that I wasn't there, because that's just something you don't want to deal with, see, or anything like that. But I can understand, Reverend Francois, as many residents as, as many people that you have coming to you. I can understand, you saying that if you don't really understand what we've done, if you haven't seen anything that, what has been done, I'll say, because the school's still handling their, their sessions and all to try and see what they want to do in the future. And go ahead.
Madam President, Mayor,
And
I want to go on record to say that I do appreciate the great effort and the great professionalism of our police department. I'm pretty hard on police departments in general, and I'm usually on record saying something very, giving a critique of our police, but I do want to publicly say I affirm and I appreciate the efforts of our police department that night and most nights in this city. I have great respect for our police chief, so I do want that to go on record. But here is what I do want to be clear about. It is offensive to people who have concerns, who pay taxes in this city, who I represent, to tell them we did everything right and we did all we can do and there's nothing more we can do. That can never be the narrative. It was not a critique of you all. It was encouragement for you to make sure that your people, our people, know that you are using your moral imagination to come up with every remedy possible. And to say we've done everything, we've had every conversation, one, is probably not true because it takes a long time to do it. Well, that's not the first comment that actually came. Actually, did say that. I'm sorry. It did say that. The first response to me actually did say that. But I do want to make sure that we are talking about how do we move forward. Our mayor has walked me through a lot of great things that has been done. And I know that those are great things, but let's never say we've done enough and we've done everything we can. Because it's not right to don't just protect the reputation of the political leaders of this city. Let's make sure we're protecting the residents of this city at all costs, even if that means you have to say we should have done more.
yes. Well, there's always room for improvement. We understand that. Thank you for your comments. Anyone else? Oh, well, this is still. Anyone else from the public?
Madam President, I make a motion.
You saying something? Aaron?
We closed the public comment already.
Okay.
In the minute, I know,
Okay. So, Councilman Sistrum, I guess you just said what you wanted to say. Well, just,
Not right now, I'm just kidding.
Councilman Harmon.
I've made my statement.
Okay.
Madam President.
Thank you.
And, thank you.
Councilman Swan.
I just, we have to pray for this child and make sure he comes through okay. And, we're just like you were, where we're standing right now, there's like 15 people that are hurt. So, you know, it's just, you know, in hindsight, you know, we can all point fingers at everybody. It's just, we move on, we know where we gotta go. If we're gonna have to worry about attacks like this, I know for sure that with the minds we have in this town, you know, we're gonna do everything we can to prevent it in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Christmas?
Good evening, everyone. It's a trying evening. I was also at the game, but I had an emergency phone call that came in and I had to leave immediately. And almost minutes after I left, my wife said, "What's that noise?" We heard it in the car. So, it's a sad thing. I didn't actually witness the panic of the people. As public safety chairman for the city of Pleasantville and its community, I'd like the administrator to schedule sometime in her schedule when she can, a meeting with the Public Safety Committee and the Police Department and the school system with their administration and their security leader. And just rehash this and talk about it on the possibilities and suggestions that we can have to help this for the future. Thank you, Reverend. Well said, thank you. Have a good evening, yes.
Thank you. Councilman Davenport?
I just want to say, I'm going to piggyback off of what the chief said about the good things that are going on in the city. And he's absolutely right. You know, our kids are doing well, and this was just an unfortunate incident. You know, police department, Deputy Chief Williams, Chief Reagan, and you know, they did a heck of a job. But so and all, that doesn't mean that we couldn't do better. And I think as a community, we have to accept that, we have to move forward, and we cannot take everything personal, because I'm not going to agree with everyone in here at any time. I got my own opinions, and I'm going to stand my own ground, but especially when it comes to our children. So I just want to thank you, and good night.
Mayor Peter?
Just want to say a lot of things are being planned as we go from day to day. So if we get information, we'll pass it on as best we know how. The game's going to be played at the Lynx Eagles Stadium. I believe it's 4 o'clock Wednesday, and it'll be just for spectators and some of the parents of the football players. I don't have much more information, but as it comes out, you know, it'll be more exposed, get more exposure to times and certain events and all. But there's a lot of things being planned right now. Different charitable groups are pitching in, different, well, anything. So just keep your eyes and ears open. If you hear something, you need to share it, just call City Hall so we can put it out there, as well as the social media.
Okay, Linda, is there anything you want to say?
No, just a comment. Those of you who are believers, to continue not only to pray for the victims of this incident, but just pray for our community as a whole as we move forward with the decisions that we have to make and how we have to work with one another to do what's best for this community. Pastor Francois, we certainly understand your concerns and the concerns that you're getting from your, you know, parishioners and congregants. But I think you got your answer tonight, maybe at the very end, but to hear that the chairperson is saying that we are not saying we've done all we can do more. So we'll have a meeting to continue this discussion to make sure that we have the safest community that we could have.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I'd like to thank everyone for coming out. And what we're dealing with right now is something, as I stated earlier, that we haven't had to deal with, and with the shootings and everything. But when there's a child involved, that just puts another level on it, another level of sadness. I do want to commend our police department because they stepped in and really just did what they should have done, along with the surrounding communities that came in with the mutual aid and Hartman and Deputy Williams. You really did do a good job. No one's trying to take anything from you. It's just that everyone right now, emotions are flying high, and I just ask everyone to just pray. Pray for the little child that's hurt. That's really the main focus right now. And, we'll work on whatever it is that we need to improve. There's always room for improvement. So, take. Okay.
I'll just change the subject just a little bit. We have a community food bank that's done along with the Pleasantville Fire Department for Thanksgiving meal distribution. That's Monday, November the 25th, and that's 17 North First Street.
It's the firehouse.
And
It's the firehouse.
the firehouse. And the Winter Wonderland and tree lighting, and also, Judy, that's your seniors. And that's Friday, December the 6th. That's gonna be 5 p.m. to 8 p.m., the Winter Wonderland tree lighting celebration. And that'll be at the Pleasantville Rec Center. And Judy is
Okay, the Thanksgiving dinner giveaway is, did you say it was 10 to 12 only? And they must show proof of resident?
Yes,
It's from-
10
okay.
10 a.m. to 12 p.m.
Only.
Only, and you have to show a residence, 1 meal per household. 1 meal per household.
And we will be having our senior Christmas party, and that's gonna be the same day, December 6th, from 12 to 3. I say the same day because of this. From 12 to 3 at the Pleasantville Recreation Center. And any Pleasantville resident, it's free, just come and have a good time. Did you read this already? Oh, okay, that was this one. I mean, about the Winter Wonderland.
Yes, I did.
Okay. It's the same day as the Winter Wonderland. Winter Wonderland is during the day, in the evening, and we have the Christmas party during the day. So it's something for all ages that day. Mayor, are you trying to say something?
I don't know. Yes. No, I was just gonna say that, but he walked out, everybody's mad as hell. Just take those energies and channel them to something positive.
I think everyone knows. Emotions are flying high right now for all of us.
Let's work together.
There's no reason to get mad though. It's about working together and hearing everybody's opinion and moving forward. That's all it is.
Just channel to something positive and,
Madam President,
Yes.
it should be noted that because of dedication and hard work, two that are present are being honored. You just don't get honored as for a purpose. Our councilman at large, William Christmas, is being honored by our police foundation and our city administrator.